Hey, this is Morty back with my final build guide for my Skeletal Sniper build. I've made it to level 93, and I think it's about time for me to start a new build out. I wanted to go over the build, where it's at, and where you can go for the future with it. Um, right now, I got my Skeletal Snipers to level I think it's 31. Yep, 31. They're level 20 from the gem, level plus 11 um from my weapon, helm, and amulet with the anoint. Um, you can pause it as I'm going over my gear here. A lot of this gear I've upgraded, like, slowly over time. The gear did get expensive, but none of this gear is really required to run the build. The build can really start off with you can start with a lot lower, quality, items. What you wanna strive for is really getting your plus to minions on your weapon, head, and amulet, and then you can kind of just hit your resists on your other things. Then you need to work on getting your mana up so that you can just sustain. And while you're running maps, you can just use inspiration to keep your mana costs down, and try to get your total mana up so that you can sustain. One other way that you can sustain is coming down this route and getting your reduced mana costs here on the tree. You can also spec into this attack speed nodes. There's a 10% reduced cost of skills here that works. And if you're hybrid, you can at the very start of the warrior tree, there's the convert mana cost to life here and the skill speed costs here. The great thing about skill speed costs or skill speed here is that it reduces the use time of your gas arrow. So if you get skill speed, your use time will go down. So you can actually use your gas more often. So the sniper skills that I'm using again are Scattershot, Heft, Feeding Frenzy, Bidding, and Inspiration. That is for just mapping. I am not exploding mobs as I'm going through the maps. I am just using gas to kill these guys. Um, Only on occasion will I drop a solar orb to ignite a rare here and there as I'm running through the maps. They just did a patch so that your skeletal snipers will come back to life if they've died when they're off screen, as in not died from damage, but died from you outranging them. So that's a huge buff to the build. You can move a lot faster now as you're running through the maps. So I'm just dropping gas and going. The gas arrow, the poison clouds are doing 53,000 damage, 30 almost 40,000 damage per second as it's sitting on the ground there. If you have the sustain, you can, obviously get rid of inspiration, put something else there just as you're mapping. Um, for bosses, I'm tossing in Immolate. I've sometimes swapped out for a Conk Effect. I just don't know what feels better to me right now for bosses. I haven't installed the new Path of Building yet to see what is actually right for skeletal snipers. I'll probably play around with that a little bit later as everything kind of works itself out a little bit more with Path of Exile 2. Um, let's see here. Flammability, I'm using heightened curse, curse ground, and presence just so that I can get it down on the ground and be able to swap back to my skeletal snipers fast enough so that I can get my pain offering up with ablation, dance macabre, font of mana, and font of rage so that they're gaining their rage before the bosses spawn. I know that I'm CI and that, in POE1, people would be scared of the term sacrifice life when you're CI, but this doesn't kill me here now. So I don't know if it's broken. I don't know if it's not working. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know if the effect doesn't apply because I'm CI, but it's in the jewel right now. So I'm using it. Um, for my solar orb, I have strip away and fire exposure. The reason why we're using solar orb instead of flame wall is because we don't want everything ignited all of the time. I've noticed that when you're running like burning ground maps, which I totally hate, I don't run them on this build because it's such a huge nerf to our damage and our minions are real squishy. Um, it ignites each cloud of gas individually. Um, so, like, if you're fighting a boss that is already ignited, or u- uh, unique mob or a rare mob that is burning already, you'll notice that when you're using your gas on them, that your damage is really reduced even though you have, your scatter shot on, and even though you're trying to hit them directly with your command, even if it's landing, like, really close to each other and stacking, you're not gonna get the overlap. They're igniting individually. So, what I like to do is Get 'em get a couple stacks going and then hit the solar orb, and then when it pulses, it ignites all 3 or 6 or 9 of the stacks at the same time. So, and then, if the boss does survive that initial attack, I'll move the solar orb from that position to a different position, restack, and reapply. That's why we're using the solar orb. The Eye of Winter is to get additional crit um, chance for skeletal snipers. And let's see, what else can we talk about here? For future gear updates, what we could do is I've heard of, but I've never seen that you can corrupt helms to get +3 to level of minion skills. So that's one thing you can do there. For the amulet, what you could do is there is a unique called Fire Flower, which you can find a +4 non-corrupted, and you could allocate dark entries to it and then corrupt it and get +6. That would be the ultimate amulet for this build. So it would be a +7 um to skeletal snipers. Then what else would be, oh, you could use the, I think there's a weapon here. Trench timber. There's a +4 version of this that you could use in your offhand to get your level of minion skills increased as well. So you could get, let's see, one from the helm, um, three from the amulet, and four from the offhand. So you could get another five, one from the helm, four from the off helm, that's five. And then what did I say? Three from the amulet. So 8 levels. So it's like 13.5% more damage per skeleton level, right? So it's like 108% more damage. It's a lot, but you'll be giving up a lot of defensive layers to do that. And you'd have to find some way to fix your resists. I mean, like I said, this ring is definitely not required. I got it because of the double rarity, fixed some of my issues with dex and strength, and I really needed the mana for some sustain. I could definitely get rid of the rarity and go with resists on that. And then, like all of my other gear has rarity on it, so I could get rid of a lot of the rarity and go with more resists to but rarity's king, right? That's why we're playing so that we can get the good loots. But anyhow, that's where the build is. Like some of the things that you could do is get some of those jewels where you could use some of the small radiuses, so that you could save 2 points. And, like if you get the jewel with a very small radius here, you could unspec these points here, and the very small lets you pick up 4 points here instead of 1, 2, 3. You get 4 points here instead of 5, and you get 2 points here instead of 3, but you save a couple that you could use someplace else, right? So, another thing that you could do is you could use one of those other jewels where your corrupted, um corrupted magic jewels have increased effect. You could do that and just use, minion damage and minion crit chance or something like that jewels to get higher crit chance, higher crit damage. There's things that you could do like that too, but you're looking at, and there's also a +3 level of skeletal snipers, but you're looking at 100 div for something like that too. So, super expensive moving forward for this build, and I just don't wanna go there. Um, I have other ideas. So, that's it for this build for now. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, you guys will see me in future videos, and take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.